Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's been a while and I'm sorry about that, but I'm back, and in today's video I'll be showing you how I made this commission that the theme was pretty much just frost and chaos, and they gave me whatever animal I wanted to choose, and since wolves happen to be my favorite, of course I went with that one. As always, when I start my posable sculptures, I make the head and feet first. The clay I prefer to use is called Super Sculpey, but any polymer clay like Fimo or, I'm sure there's others. Like, I know Michaels has its own brand of polymer clay. As long as it's polymer clay, you'll be perfectly fine because it's easy to bake in the oven. I always start out with a lump of tin foil that I've squashed into the rough head shape that I'm going for, in this case a wolf. I do this to save clay, make the head lighter so it's less likely to fall over later on since most of its head is made up of the foil and foil tends to be rather light, and bake more evenly in the oven because, again, since the foil is there, it's not going to make the clay layers as thick, and so it'll bake more evenly and won't burn. Like, some parts will burn if it's thinner than others. It's just always use the foil. It makes it a lot easier. Once I've got the rough head shape down, I cover the entire tin foil in one layer of clay. And then I just start molding and shifting the clay around where I think this needs more, this needs less, until I get the rough shape that I'm going for. References are so important for steps like this, just to make sure, you know, the nose isn't too long or the head isn't too flat, because those are problems that I used to have all the time. Or like the cheeks are too thick or too thin. So references are just always a very good thing to have. The eyes I use for this piece are glass eyes that I got from an Etsy shop. If you just Google or even search in Etsy, I know a lot of other stores carry them, but if you just look up like glass eyes or glass cabochons or something like that, you can find a ton of different styles, different colors, different pupil shapes. Like, there's just a whole world of just different eyes that can be used for whatever you're trying to make. Realistic, fantasy, you name it, they got it. So I love using glass eyes, and I've had these for a while and I don't know why I didn't use them sooner, but I'm trying to make it an effort to just start using these a lot more than just painted eyes. Because I'll be the first to admit, I'm not the greatest when painting eyes. It's something I want to learn and get better at, but until then, glass eyes are the way to go for me. I'm starting to swear by these tools. They just make things so easier. I don't know why I wasn't using them before. I used to just be a use your fingers and maybe a needle here and there kind of girl. And now I'm like, I need a dotting tool. I need a scalpel tool to cut clay. I need this. And I'll admit, it makes things a whole lot easier. It gets to nooks and crannies that I normally wouldn't be able to get to. It does a whole bunch of things that I didn't even know I could do easily with sculpting tools. So if you have the spare change, I would say get it. I got these particularly at Hobby Lobby. I think they were $16. I'm sure I'll leave a link down below if you want to pick them up from like Amazon or something. But oh god, they're a godsend. They're a godsend. That's what I'm calling them. They're a godsend. You know, I just find that I'm talking randomly throughout the video, and I'm just gonna keep this ball going. I also wanted to ask, since I'm back now and I'm gonna try to be uploading a lot more regularly, I wanted to know what you guys would like to see, what creatures you want made. I'm thinking Toothless, because a little trailer came out and I was all happy about it. And then I know I also want to make Trico. I know there's some Pokemon I want to make. Of course, there's also like original characters I want to make and things like that. And I want to record all of this, so I just want to know what you guys would like to see. What you guys are interested in, because I'm just making stuff and hoping that it works out. I know the fox, y'all love foxes, and so I finally made one of those for you guys. But I'm just curious, what do you guys want to see? What you want made? Once I was done sculpting all the clay pieces, I baked them at 275 degrees Fahrenheit for roughly 30 to 45 minutes, and once cooled down, I attached them to the armature. I've also gotten a lot of questions on how I attach my clay pieces to my armature. Basically, I just sculpt a deep hole in the back of the head and feet, and I'll slide wire into those holes and then secure it with glue. Once all that's done and the clay pieces are attached, it's time to build up the body. To do this, I use quilt batting. It comes in these giant long sheets that you can pretty much get at any craft stores. Even Walmart sells it, and it comes in long sheets that I just cut into strips and just wrap around the wire over and over until the body is built up to my liking. I usually build up the body slightly thinner than I actually want, since I know the fur fabric is going to add up a bit of girth. So it's always a good idea to plan ahead if you know usually my fur fabrics are pretty thick, so I just like to not make it as thick with the quilt batting, just so I know it's not going to be overly beefy, but you also don't want to make it overly skinny, so it takes a bit of practice just to find that good middle ground. But I guess in this case, I did want this wolf to be pretty thick and muscular, so I guess just forget I said any of that with this one. Meh. After the body is built up, it's time to cut out the fabric for the body. I mean, it's kind of hard to explain how I do this and a lot easier to just see what I'm doing, but basically, I cut a piece of fabric the entire length of the doll, and I then make slits where the limbs are, and then slide those limbs through the slits, trim the fabric down to size, and sew straight down the middle. It doesn't really make that much sense when I just say it out loud, but as you watch the video, it makes more sense. I repeat similar steps for all the leg fabric. I cut a long piece the entire length of the leg and then sew starting at the feet and working my way up towards the body. And to join the leg and body fabric together, I sew them together using a ladder stitch. Once sewing is all done, it's time to trim down all that fluff because I want all his beautiful non-existent muscles to show. I always start out with a pet shaver, and I recommend this over and over and will always recommend a pet shaver just because it gets the bulk fur off so quickly and so much more smooth than I can ever get with scissors. And it conveniently comes with different guard lengths for whatever kind of look I'm going for, whether it be super thin fur or really thick fluffy fur. It just makes things so easy. Guys, if you're going to be doing this for a while and you're going to be making multiple art dolls, I really suggest getting one of these. It just cuts this. It used to take me like 45 minutes to just trim a doll. Now it takes me like 20. It completely cut it in half. I absolutely love these things. But even so, after all the trimming is done with a pet shaver, I still like to go back with scissors just to detail trim everything, usually around the legs, just to make sure all of the anatomy is showing exactly the way I want it to show. Once the furring for the face is all finished and the body is all trimmed to my liking, it's time to add color to the body. I'm using a dual action siphon feed airbrush with an air compressor, and I know that's a mouthful, but it's just the type of airbrush I use because I know a lot of people have been asking. It really is just, the dual action just basically means that you can control the level of air that is coming out. So say if you want to make super fine details in the fur, you can do that, or if you want to spray the whole body super quickly like I'm doing here, you pull like the lever all the way back. That's what the dual action lever is for. I use Acrylic paints. They're specifically designed for airbrushes, and they're super thin, and they're just great. I haven't worked with another brand before. I just kind of lucked out with Acrylic being the first brand that I tried, and I absolutely love them. So I really recommend that. But say you don't have, because I know they're expensive, they're $5 a bottle. So say you don't have that kind of expense after buying an airbrush, because I know airbrushes tend to be on the pricey side as well. What you could also do is if you take just regular acrylic paint and you water it down thin enough, it'll shoot through the airbrush fine. Or you can also buy like airbrush medium from stores, and that'll make it easier to make your own airbrush paints. It just takes a little bit more work and sometimes a little bit more finicky, but it is obviously cheaper to do it that way than to just buy the airbrush paint. And as long as you aren't super heavy with your layers and you don't layer on too much, the fur does not change in its texture all that much. Just make sure within each layer that you're doing, make sure it completely dries, and make sure that you comb it out. You'll see me combing it out. Make sure you comb it out between each layer. That way nothing sticks, and it also helps to comb out the reverse way just to make sure that nothing's sticking and everything's still gonna flow just as nicely as when it was white as it is blue. The last step for this one in particular, since it was in frost ice themed wolf, I did find at Hobby Lobby these spiked crystals. I honestly think they're for a necklace or something, but hey, I found it for another use. So I'm basically just dabbing a little bit of glue on each end and then moving the fur out of the way and then just placing them on and holding them until they dry. I really liked the way that this turned out. It looks like ice spikes coming out of the back of him. It's really cool and I really dig it. Alright, and after all that, this guy is finally done. Thank you guys for sticking around and being patient with me. I'm again back and I'm going to be trying to upload a lot more regularly. And thank you for sticking with this video because I know my videos tend to be quite long. If you guys liked it, maybe drop a like and consider subscribing to see more creatures. I don't really know what to call my things anymore. So thank you guys again for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! Ah! Go away, go away!